Hey guys, it's Peter, and I'm back. Of course I'm back. I'm not going anywhere. Beast! Peekaboo, I see you because I'm YouTube. Ooh, cracked voice today. Ooh, la, 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 la. I'm YouTube famous now. Available Christmas 2024, the album. Dad, shimmy, shimmy, AF. What if God was one of us? Somebody the other day commented on one of my videos, and they said, if you want to miss the screeching and the screaming that Peter calls singing, skip to like the 19-minute mark. And I responded underneath it, and I said something like, have you pre-ordered my album? And she responded and was like, I'm so happy that you saw this as a joke. Do y'all think I really think I can sing? What if God was one of us? Just a slob like... I need to put my lip gloss on for this song. Hold on a second. La 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 la. I should have just sang... Damn it, I can't get this video started today. Some people are laughing and some people are like, when's he gonna get to Eugenia Cooney? Just hold on, hold your horses for a second. Can you say hold your horses anymore? Is that offensive? Is that animal rights? I don't know. I don't know what I'm allowed to say anymore, what I'm not allowed to say. I don't care, fuck it. Anyway. What if God was one? I was going to say I should have just sang Stevie Nicks. Because, you know, you just can't F up with rock on, gorgeous woman. Players only love you when they're playing. I mean, if you sing Stevie Nicks or Bob Dylan, it doesn't really matter. Or Neil Young, because they all kind of have that voice anyway. So, okay. What if God was one of us? I've been practicing this song. We're going to sing this song. We're going to get through it, okay? So we can get into this video about Eugenia Cooney. Eugenia Cooney might be God if you listen to this song, you know? What if God was one of us? This will not be on my album. Just a slob like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus. Does Eugenia Cooney take the bus? Trying to make their way home. Boost! How are you guys doing today? I have to tell you a funny story. Okay. So, for those of you out there that know, and for those of you out there that don't believe it, I actually have a master's degree in social work. When I applied, I don't know if this has changed, but when I applied for my master's degree in social work, you did not have to take a test called the GRE. Now, for those of you that don't know, the GRE is very similar to like the SATs for high school to get in college, but this is for master's programs. And it's kind of like the LSATs for law school or the, you know, MCATs for medical school. I don't know. Is that even right? I don't know. But anyway, the GREs are like these tests that you take. And there's like a general test and there's like a specified test for your area. And so I remember my friend and I went, and at this point I wanted to get my MFA in creative writing. That was what I wanted to get my master's degree in. And this was before I decided to... I think this might have been before I got sober, actually. This was before I decided that I wanted to go into social work. So, anyway, my friend and I, and this is a friend of mine that I had known since, if you watch my vlog, you'll know what I'm about to say, okay? Kindergarten, elementary, junior high, high school, college, and then we ended up going to graduate school together, okay? So anyway, we went in and we took the general test and there was a break, okay? And the general test was like a lot of like math and logic and, you know, and Susie gets on a boat and Johnny gets on a boat and Susie leaves on her boat an hour, you know, all that kind of stuff, which was why I never went to law school anyway. I don't know why this was on this GRE. But then you took this specified GRE, right? And so my friend was trying to go into a clinical psych program. And I was trying to get my MFA in English. And I can remember that I thought it was going to be a lot of literature questions because that's what I had focused on in undergrad. And so I remember that like there was like 400 questions or something like that. And like the second to the last question or the last question said something about, it was about the color purple. And I knew it was Alice Walker that had written it. And the answer was Alice Walker. And I was like... Okay, I knew that one. The rest of it was all like sentences and sentence structure and things like that, right? Oh my God. It was like, that day was pure hell. But it was like icing and snowing outside. It was like in February or something. It was like so bad outside. And I remember I got out to the car and I was out there and I was waiting for my friend and I was listening to that song. What if God was one of us? And you know, like when you're young and you have these like intellectual conversations with yourself. And I'm thinking to myself, if God is out there, like, what does God want for me? Like, you know, does God want me to get into, because I don't think I passed this GRE. There's not even a pass fail. It's just a score, right? And I'm like, I don't think I did that well on it at all and anything like that, right? And so I was like, I don't know what, I'm listening to this song, right, on repeat. I'm like, I don't know what God wants for me. So whatever year that song came out, we should actually look. This would be interesting. Because it was around that time that I got my GRE. Hold on a second. Let's go in here and Google search. What if God was one of us? Is that by Jewel? Is it Jewel? Because I have the remix is what I'm listening to. One of Us song release. It says ABBA. Song release. I think it was Jewel though, wasn't it? Jewel. Oh, Joan Osborne. Joan Osborne. Joan Osborne. How could I forget all about that? November 21st of 1995. Okay, so I would have been, I got sober December 17th of 1994. So I would have been almost a year sober. Okay, so I thought I was going to get my MFA and be a college professor, you know, teaching creative writing and literature and things like that. That was not the road that God wanted for me, okay? God obviously is struggling on a bus somewhere, okay? Like, just like a slob like me. I don't know, okay? And no, I'm not dissing him. I'm just repeating the lyrics of the song by the famous Joan Osborne. Is that her name? Judy Osborne. Is she one of the Osbornes? Can't believe I forgot all about her. What was her name? Joan Osborne. Yeah, the famous Joan Osborne that I confused with Jewel. So anyway, what if God was she a one-hit wonder? Was that the only thing? So anyway, my friend came out to the car and I said to her, girl, how did you think you did on that? Because she had to take I took like we both took the general and then she took like the general or the specified psych and I took the specified like, you know, English one. And I said, she asked me, how'd you do? I said, girl, I knew one question. It was Alice Walker from The Color Purple. I said, and I still haven't seen a new movie with Fantasia. That's on my list. That's on my list. So anyway, I was like, how do you do? She goes, I think I did pretty good. Ma'am, she failed it miserably. She failed it miserably, okay? Which is why we both got our master's degrees in social work, which didn't require a GRE, okay? I'm sure my haters will have a lot of fun with that one. So anyway, they'll be like typing in GRE placements 1995. Peter Monn took his placement. It was at some high school, okay, on like the south side of Indianapolis. I don't remember. If you can find it, you're a better investigator of the world than I am. So anyway, that was a little story I had to tell you. I wanted to pick a different song today. So I was listening to this, you know, when I'm getting ready, and by getting ready, I mean picking out my t-shirt. I haven't worn this t-shirt over here in a long time. So anyway, what was it? It was One of Us. By Jam, featuring Salome. It's a remix, I guess. It ain't the original by Joan Osborne. The infamous and never forgotten Joan Osborne. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to do a different song over here today, you know? I was taking my walk last night, and I was listening to Piano Man, which I sang in my video yesterday, and for all of you guys out there that watched my video yesterday, I just want to say, you left the most amazingly kind comments. It was just so encouraging and so sweet. I just want to say I really, really appreciate it. And so last night I was walking and I was listening, because I'm taking a walk every night, you know. I'm back to the walks. And so I was listening to Piano Man, and I was listening to the beginning part, which I sang in my video yesterday, you know. It's 9 o'clock on a Saturday. The regulars... Now I can't remember how it goes. But anyway, if the song were playing, I would know it. I'm one of those kind of singers, okay? But the words are, and I think I said strangled in or something like that in the video. And the words are like, and I've known it since, you know, 1987 that the words were shuffling. But anyway, there's old man sitting next to me, making love to his tonic and gin. If you have never been in a bar, okay, drinking or sober, if you've never been in a bar when they play that song, okay, and everybody in the whole bar is singing it, and then it goes into my other favorite song, which I mentioned in my video yesterday, Sweet Caroline, Bum, bum, bum. Good times never seem so good. You ready? So good. So good. If you've never been in a bar like that when they're doing karaoke and the whole kind of things like that, you know, then you have never lived a life. Okay, that is a life right there. I love that song. Every time Piano Man comes on, okay, if I'm at a party, if I'm, you know, just sitting around the house or whatever, I'm always like, it's 9 o'clock on a Saturday. I don't know the rest of the words, but I always thought I'd be a movie star. I know those words. So anyway, but you know what? Going back to this Joan Osborne song, I do think that was a paramount moment in my life. No, I do. When I was sitting in that car listening to that song, and it was icing outside, and I thought, what the fuck am I spending a Saturday morning? I could be sleeping in. What am I doing on a Saturday morning, okay? I tried to take this GRE, but I failed miserably, right? And why am I sitting here trying to do this when God obviously has another plan for me? And that plan, I did not know it at the time, okay? That plan was that I was going to be on the YouTubes, you know, 30 years later, 29 years later. Let's not add time. Let's not borrow trouble and borrow time. I was going to be on the YouTubes 29 years later talking about Eugenia Cooney, okay, just after I gotten sober. But, you know, here I am, and my sobriety comes a lot into what I'm going to talk about today. So, anyway, last night, let me just tell you about last night. So, I took this long walk, and then I came home, and I, like, cleaned out the basement. So, I was going through all this kind of stuff in the basement, and I finished the second book in the Housemaid series by Frida McFadden. Have you guys read these books? Oh my God, it's called The Housemaid's Secret. The third one comes out in June, and I cannot wait to find out what happens to Millie. So anyway, I finished out last night. I got all these books cleaned out in my basement. Everything's boxed up. Every book in my basement is boxed up at this point. So I'm so excited about that. And then I was reading some books outside. I'm reading Raymond Carver's That's What We Talk About When We Talk About Love, the short story collection. Love it. And then I went inside and I finished watching the documentary Soaring versus Haysom, Till Murder Do Us Part. That's on Netflix. Oh my God. You guys, you want a true crime documentary? Let me just tell you right now, that is it. Okay, that is it. By the way, if you're a reader of Reese Witherspoon's books, the new one came out today. I'm like in the mood for a thriller. It's not a thriller. So I think I'm going to put it on pause and wait for a while. So anyway, last night, when I was like sitting outside and I was relaxing, I was listening to music after I got done reading and things like that, I was like checking up on my people. Now, I don't claim them. Do you have people in your life that you don't claim? You know, that you knew, like an ex of yours that you dated when you were like 18 or something like that, and you see him, you're like, hey, how are you? And your friends are like, who's that? And you're like, just somebody I used to know back then. But you don't claim them. You don't say, oh, that was this guy that I dated for 6 months, and he basically ruined my life and stole shit from my apartment. You don't tell them all that, right? You're just like, oh, just some guy, some random, a random. Well, you always just say random, right? You don't ever act like you claim them, okay? Oh, who's that person over there? Girl, don't worry about it. She ain't nobody. Okay, so anyway, you still claim them people, okay? We've all got people we don't claim. You know what I'm talking about. And some of us, at many times in our life, have been the ones that ain't nobody claiming. Okay, I know I've been on the receiving end of no claims. Trust me, okay? Listen, I don't have to be a claims adjustment agent to understand that, okay? There have been people out there that walk right on by, like Dionne Warwick said, and they do not, okay, claim me whatsoever. But that's okay. That's okay. So anyway, I'm like strolling through looking at the people that, you know, I don't claim. My people that I talk about over here, but I don't claim last night. You know, this Shane Dawson, he's got a new conspiracy video out. I haven't watched it yet, but it's doing pretty good. Let's see if I actually took a screenshot of his what do you call it? His thumbnail to see if he changed it. Let's see if he changed it today. Shane. I was thinking of that disco song, Shame. Okay, let's see if he's changed it. Has he changed it? I think he already did change it, actually. Oh, he already changed it! Oh my God. He has literally already changed the thumbnail, and it's been like, when did I take the thumbnail? Okay, so now it's like this kaboom fire thing that he's holding up what's going to probably be new merch that he's going to sell. And I literally took the picture. Here it is right here. Screenshot it. I took it at 5:22 a.m. So it's been less than 12 hours because it's 3:37 p.m. and he has already changed the thumbnail once. I don't know. He might have changed it 4 times in between that. But so I'm looking at all the people. I'm looking at Coleen Ballinger, and I was kind of surprised. Like, I was looking at him on Instagram, right? And I was like, you know, Coleen Ballinger, like, she gets, like, every once in a while some comments. Like, I was looking underneath her picture, one of her pictures from, like, I think it was a New Year's picture, and people were, like, posted, like, a screenshot of her, you know, music video. Her music video, which I like to refer to as Hi, I'm Back, Toxic Gossip Train. Now, remember that? People call it an apology. People call it her ukulele video. I like to call it a music video, okay? Because it's very creative and fictitious. So I like to call it a music video. You think she's going to be on VH1? She doesn't know this, but we're closer in age than she is to her fans that she's talking to in group chats. Just saying, Coleen, okay? We're the VH1 crowd, okay? Just so you know. You ain't even the MTV crowd no more, girl. You're the VH1 crowd up there with me, okay? Okay? You'll be getting your AARP card real soon in the mail, Coleen, okay? And no, I'm not being ageist like everybody that comes over on my channel. I'm just speaking the truth. She's 37, 38 years old. I'm 51 years old, okay? She's closer in age to me than she is to the people that she's talking to in group chats. Let's just put that in perspective for a second, okay? That's some scary shit right there. So anyway, I'm looking underneath there, and there's like a few comments where people are like, oh, we ain't forgetting Coleen and things like that, but there's not a lot. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm so glad you're back, Coleen. Forget the haters. You know, don't listen to what nobody says. I knew you were telling the truth the whole time. You knew you were telling the truth with she was telling the truth with factual evidence out there. Can I get me some stands out there like that? Oh, I already have one. It's my Vloggerina group. People that watch my vlogs. They call them the granny cult. All these grannies out there that follow my every word on the vlog, and they're just like a cult following. I'm going to get me some t-shirts. And there's actually a t-shirt out there. I tried to get it, but they didn't have it in my size, and it says cult leader on it. I can't wait till it gets in my size because I'm buying that t-shirt. So anyway, but they say that they're like a cult following of mine and all that kind of stuff. Now, some people take offense to that because they're like, I'm 27 years old, Peter, and I watch your vlogs every single night. I ain't no granny. Well, you could be at 27. Did you ever see Jerry Springer where shit's happened? So anyway, but listen, Linda, it don't matter, okay? Stand who you want to stand. But when you are unwilling to, like, look at the evidence that's right in front of your face, I don't know why. I'm not getting into Coleen Ballinger today because I got too much to talk about with Eugenia Cooney. So anyway, we'll talk about Coleen Ballinger another day. Because she ain't got her March video yet. So I got to do, every month I said I was doing a video, remember? And somebody say, you are not going to do that. Well, I mean, it's March, and I'm still keeping up my word on that one. I'm going to still keep the story of, I was going to say Eugenia Cooney, but I'm going to keep the story of Coleen Ballinger alive, right? Because we need to keep on talking about it because people do forget, right? And that's important for the victims that we keep those stories alive. It's fair to them. They need to know that that story is staying alive and that there are some people out there that will never forget what Coleen Ballinger did, okay? Now, if she wanted to come out and address it, she wanted to come out and take some accountability and apologize to a few people and maybe act like it was sincere and share that she's been working on this behind the scenes and what she's realized about herself and maybe not follow James Charles' words and say she was desperate. But if she really wanted to, you know, do all that, maybe we would start seeing things a little bit different. Probably not. Probably we wouldn't. But maybe just a little bit. But she hadn't even done that, okay? I mean, I think on her Instagram last night, she threw up a picture of rocks on her Instagram story. Now, true story, she did, because she thinks it's all just a fucking joke, right? She thinks this is all a joke. She's come back, and even though her views are horrible, you know, for somebody as big as she was on YouTube, I mean, she's getting about a little bit, just a few more views than I am on my channel. So anyway, so I was looking at Coleen Ballinger's things. I'm like, you know, most of her comments over here, unless she's deleting comments, unless she is, most of her, but there's a few negative comments on there, so I don't think she's probably deleting a lot. I think people have just kind of like the people that have seen the truth with Coleen Ballinger have unfollowed her, and they're not over there leaving comments anymore, right? So I'll go over to Eugenia Cooney's, because I'm like, oh, let's check on Eugenia and whatever, and she did this makeup thing and all this kind of stuff. Then I went over to her TikTok. She's doing, okay, people are like, oh, Eugenia, you're doing makeup. You know, when has Eugenia not done makeup? Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson sent her their makeup 16 years ago when it came out. They're still living off those proceeds, even though Shane Dawson said he didn't make no money off that palette. You should be a stand-up comedian, Shane Dawson, that you think that people actually fucking believe that you didn't make any money off that palette that sold out in half an hour and people couldn't even buy it online, okay? And the whole bundle was like $250, but you didn't make any money off that? Give me a fucking break. This poor act that Shane Dawson wants to play, okay? With having a house in Los Angeles, or in the ranch in California, and a working farm in Colorado, and puts out a video once every 2 months, and wants people to think that he's poor, okay? Oh, I forgot, you push your merch all the time. Buy these slimes, don't buy these slimes. I don't care if you buy these slimes. Anyway, Eugenia Cooney has done makeup. Now, not consistently, but she's done looks and stuff like that. But I'm looking at this thing, and she puts her hand out, right? And she's, like, putting on this, I think it's, like, concealer or something like that. She's, like, squirting this shit out, and it's, like, it's literally globs of it. And I'm, like, watching this, and I'm, like, people are praising her in the comment section, which I thought was kind of nice. You know, they're, like, looking for anything to give her a compliment on, right? And I'm like, she has got literally, I mean, probably 4 liters of concealer on her little hand, okay? And I mean, she's like, and she even says in the TikTok, she's like, oh, sorry guys, like, I know I put a lot on there. I'm like, put a lot on there? The thing puts the lotion in the basket. I mean, girl, you squeeze half the bottle on your hands. You don't know what you're doing with makeup. You don't, okay? I don't wear makeup. Even I would know not to put that fucking much concealer on my hand, okay? But God bless her, the girl's trying to try something new, okay? So apparently she's doing all these makeup looks and all this kind of stuff. So I'm reading underneath the comments on her Instagram and her TikTok. You know, now I did this video about Eugenia Cooney, let's say 3 weeks ago or something like that. And people were real interested in my take. So I've been checking up with her, you know, from time to time, watching her TikToks and things like that because I want to see what was going on. Now, I just want to say before I get in this video, I am by no means a Eugenia Cooney expert, okay? I know that. I know there are people out there that watch her all the time, know everything about her, blah, 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 whatever. I'm not one of those people. So I just want to make that very, very clear, okay? But, I mean, I have recently been watching her a little bit closer. So I'm reading through these comments. Now, Eugenia Cooney's comments are a mixture of people that love her so much and are just really giving her glowing comments, okay? I mean, very nice comments. Like, Eugenia, you look very pretty in this. Eugenia, your makeup skills are fantastic. Eugenia, like, I'm so glad you're trying different things. Very complimentary comments, right? And then in the middle, there are a lot of what I would call concerned comments. And it's, of course, about her eating disorder and her looking very thin. And these are the comments that are consistently on her videos and her TikToks and Instagrams and stuff. And it's comments like, you know, I went in and I actually screenshot some of them, but I'll just give you guys. It's like, Eugenia, I love you. I've watched you forever. I just really wish that you would get some help. I'm very worried about you. I don't consider that a hate comment. I consider that a concerned comment. And when you go over to Eugenia's comment sections, there's a lot of those over there. There's a lot of comments that are like, Eugenia, I love you so much. Eugenia, I've watched you forever. Eugenia, you'd be such a role model if you got some help and things like that, right? And then the comments kind of take a turn and they go for the dark side. And it's everything from, girl, you need to eat a turkey, you know, turkey leg, to, girl, eat a Big Mac, to, girl, how can you even walk, to, you know, corpse emojis, to, she gonna be dead in a week, to, you know, girl, you need a Thanksgiving dinner because you look like you haven't eaten in 2 years. I mean, it's constant, right? Like, it's all that. It's a lot of that, right? And so I'm looking at this, now I'm taking a bunch of notes, okay? Hold on, somebody's texting me. Who is it? Is it my husband? Oh, okay. So anyway, so I'm taking some notes on this, so we're going to get into my notes, right? And so I was reading these comments, and I was like, I want to look into this a little bit closer, right? Because I do not know, right? I don't know, like, and I don't know why, but let's just because it's like, you know, eating issues, food issues, and things like that. Other channels that are similar to this but different, I would say, are like Amberlynn Reid, Chantal Foodie Beauty, things like that, right? And they get very similar comments, but opposite. Like, you know, girl, you need to put down the food, girl this, girl that, whatever, right? Well, here's what's interesting to me a little bit about having, you know, watched a lot of all of that, is that Amberlynn Reid, and she's somebody that I used to cover back in the day, is somebody that she, like, feeds into the negativity, right? Like, she knows that her videos where she says, like, exercising for a week, and then she gets on video and she shows her exercises, and her exercise is taking a step to the right and a step to the left 4 times and she's done. She knows that that is going to, like, breed so much negativity on her channel, and it's going to get more people to watch it, and the commentary channels are going to comment about it, which is going to get more people talking about it, and it's going to drive her views and subscribers. And I would say that the majority of people that watch Amberlynn Reid are hate watchers, okay? And I think she even knows that, because when I talked to her years ago and asked her if I could do some video, she was like, it doesn't really matter what you said because all the people hate me anyway. Now, I will say that underneath Amberlynn's videos, there are people out there that support her and love her, but the majority of it is negative. And that's why, you know, she'll do like 100 days of weigh-ins and then 2 days later she's quit, right? Like, I think that's very calculated. I talked to Amberlynn back in the day. Amberlynn is not stupid. She is not a stupid girl by any means, okay? She plays stupid on camera. She plays like she doesn't get it, right? She's very, very smart. She knows what she's doing, especially to the point where years ago she showed what she was making on YouTube, okay, from AdSense. She was making good money. It was upwards of $10,000 or $11,000 a month, okay? And that was several years ago before her channel had grown. So you have Amberlynn Reid, who is a channel that is feeding into the negativity, and people want to see her talk about food and see her talk about exercise and diets that fail and things like that, and she does that. She gives the people what they want, right? And so then what she's done is she's turned her health into entertainment, okay? And then you have people like Chantal Foodie Beauty who are doing the same thing. There's a lot of people out there like that, right? Eugenia Cooney is somebody that, in the times that I have watched her and more recently, she doesn't really address the negativity. In fact, if you go in through her comments, she only responds to the positive comments. I mentioned this in a past video, that she has to see all the negative comments because you'll see like 5 in a row and then she responds to this comment where somebody's like, I love you trying new content, and she'll say, thank you so much. So she sees them, she just doesn't really respond to it, okay? And she doesn't really feed into it. Now, for years, you know, she would wear very skimpy clothes and things like that, and I think that's what got her in trouble on the TikTok, is because she exposed herself. I think some people are saying she did it on purpose, other people are saying she didn't do it on purpose, blah, 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 whatever. So she's now wearing clothes that cover herself up because I think she's not wanting to lose other platforms and things like that, but people said that she had been doing that for years and years and years, and that her showing off parts of her body were poor role modeling to other people and things like that, you know? Okay, so as a person in recovery, so like I said earlier, I got sober December 17th of 1994. I was kind of trying to think about this from the point of view of somebody that like has addiction issues, you know, has mental health issues, has eating disorders and things like that, right? And like just purely existing, living in that state of mind online, like, is that role modeling, right? Like, if somebody, let's say, were, you know, and it's hard because I think that even in our society, like, if you have bipolar disorder, and I know this is not going to be a popular opinion when I say this, I already know it, okay? But they're all mental health issues. When you have issues like bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, you know, if you have personality disorders and things like that, like, people are like, oh, like, they have mental health issues, I hope they're getting help, I hope they're getting, you know, see a therapist and psychiatrist and things like that. With addiction issues, and trust me, for 29 years I've lived it, there's a stigma that goes along with it, right? That you chose this lifestyle, you could have stopped it when you wanted to, blah, 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 whatever. There are still a lot of people today that want to fight and say it's not a disease, when by the American Medical Association it has been designated a disease. I don't fight that fight with people because I'm just here to keep people alive. So by sharing my story, I hope that keeps one person alive. By sharing my story of addiction and recovery, and that we do recover, okay? And that you can recover one day at a time. And so I don't really care how you do that. I don't care if you do that by church, a 12-step program, you know, a MAP program. I don't care how you do that. I'm not the one to judge how somebody else needs to get sober. I just hope people stay sober so people don't die, right? But there is a stigma that goes along with addiction. Even when I have friends of mine that have passed from overdoses and things like that, that have been heavily involved in 12-step programs and then went back out, when you go to those funerals, there's even a stigma at the funeral, right? Like, the parents didn't do enough, the spouse didn't do enough, like the friends didn't, if we had just done something, right? And I think the same thing goes with eating disorders. And I've had, like I've said, a lot of friends of mine that have had eating disorders. I'm going to share a personal struggle that I've had too. And, you know, I've seen that with friends of mine that will say things, and I've even been on the receiving end of that, right? Like, where it's not so much like, let's look into the appropriate ways. You know, I just did a video not too long ago on my purism channel because people asked me what my opinion was about interventions. It's not like we go the route of that, or we, you know, really are seeking treatment for people or whatever. It's like, let's just lash out at somebody and say, you need to eat a fucking cheeseburger. Because that comment, of course, is going to solve the world's problems, right? Like, if somebody said to a crack addict, just put the crack pipe down, you know? Like, why don't you just put the crack pipe down and get Jesus? Like, yeah, that comment would not have gotten me sober. Just like I'm sure somebody that's anorexic or bulimic, somebody telling them to eat a cheeseburger is probably not going to get them healthy, you know? So I wanted to look into this a little bit more because I was like, are they hate comments? Are they concern comments? Are they a little bit of both? Is she trolling? What's going on here, right? So I wanted to look a little bit more into this. And like I said, I'm no expert, so you guys can share this, what you know about this in the comment section below. But I wanted to give this a more, like, deeper look into this. And this is probably, Eugenia is probably somebody I'm going to continue to talk about in 2024 because she's very intriguing to me. And, you know, what she's doing with her platform is intriguing with me and to me and things like that. But I did go in and like with the history, and there's been a few times that she's talked about her eating disorder and getting help. But by and large, she's not really bringing tons of attention to it. So then I guess what I'm asking is, by her just existing as a person with an eating disorder, being thin online, people, I'm just asking, people are saying that's a bad role model, right? So if you have an addict that is not using drugs or alcohol on video, but is just existing as an addict or an alcoholic and is not sober, then they are a bad role model to people because they're just existing, because they're still in their addiction. I don't know. Like, I don't know where to draw the line with this, you know? It's like, I wish for Eugenia that she would get help, because she has come out and said that she has an eating disorder. She has addressed that she went and got help. She came back and said that she was fine, but we all know that it's not a one and done. You don't just go to treatment for something and you get out and that's it, okay? There's aftercare plans, there's treatment follow-up and whatever, and since that time, she's lost a lot of weight, so people are very concerned. And no, I'm not going to walk on eggshells talking around about this. I think that anybody that talks about Eugenia Cooney, okay, needs to come out if they're going to talk about the issues that we're talking about surrounding it, okay? I think that we need to stop walking around on eggshells and just call it for what it is. The thing for me is that if Eugenia got healthy, she could really change her platform, and she could really, really help a lot of people with her story. This is going to stop. Hold on just a second. I wanted to stop this because before I get into the serious part of this video, I want to make sure that I don't have to stop it. I think that if Eugenia would get help, and the thing is that when I started looking into the history of it and things that she has said, it's very aware to me that there is an awareness to Eugenia Cooney that she does have issues, that she does know that she has an eating disorder, and that she has gotten help for it in the past, right? So she's fully aware of her problems. And so when people say things to her online, she's fully aware of it, right? So at this point, it's her choosing not to get help if she needs help. I think it's obvious to anybody that since the time in 2019 when she received treatment to today, she looks much thinner. She looks a lot thinner than she did then, right? And unfortunately, that is one way that we judge some eating disorders with people, is that's how we look. I actually looked up online last night, and I looked at physical descriptions of people with eating disorders, most of which I already knew, which is, poor nail beds, poor nails, poor teeth, dry lips, swollen eyes, loss of hair, thinning hair, things like that, loss of weight. Well, I think that's what people are seeing. They're seeing a lot of that with Eugenia, and the people that have watched her for a long time are very concerned about her, right? Just like if I was watching somebody that I thought had an addiction issue online, and, they were yellow in color, and they were losing a lot of weight or gaining a lot of weight, depending on what their substance was of choice, and, they seemed a certain way, it would be concerning to me as well. So I understand people's concerns. My question is it being approached the right way, right? And I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert on this. So I went into this and I was like, and the other thing is, what's interesting to me is Coleen Ballinger now, less than a year later, is not getting really that many negative comments whatsoever, no hate comments. She's being lifted up by people. But Eugenia Cooney, just existing as a person that has an eating disorder online, okay? She ain't been in no group chats with, as far as I know. Somebody will probably educate me in the comment section below, but, she hasn't done nearly the things that Coleen Ballinger has done, and yet Eugenia Cooney, and even Amber Lynn Reed, for that matter, and Chantel Foodie Beauty get bombarded with hate comments, okay? Literally just for existing online. And like I said, Amber Lynn Reed and Chantal, Foodie Beauty, I feel like they bring that on themselves. I feel like that's one of the reasons why I stopped watching them, is because I could no longer engage in the fact, and the only reason I would watch him is to do something for a drama video. I could no longer engage, and I never really did watch Chantal anyway, but with Amber Lynn, that you were willing to risk your health for views and subscribers. For me, I'm not willing to engage in that. And that's the way that I help, or I deal, I don't even think it's helping it, but deal with it. Is I'm just like, I'm not going to watch that. I don't understand hate watching. It's not something I've ever understood. So, but what I don't understand is, why is Coleen Ballinger, that was a 36, 37, 38-year-old woman who chose to be in group chats with 12, 13, and 14-year-olds, having sexually explicit conversations with them, getting less hate than somebody that has an eating disorder, which is a mental health issue, and it's just existing online? Why is she getting less hate than that person? It's baffling to me, right? And it's a condition of our society, I think. And so I go in here, and, like I said, I see her a little bit different than these channels. And, I do have a history of having, when I was in high school, some issues with eating disorders, not as hardcore as other people. But recently, and I've talked about this on some of my other channels, and I have to say, this is where I feel like it is powerful when people talk about it, okay? I was watching a very famous Instagrammer, TikToker, that I think is hilarious, and he was talking about binge eating disorder, all right? Now, I had heard about it, but until I started hearing him talk about the symptoms of it and whatever, and I was like, Tick, that's me. This is before I lost a bunch of weight. That's me, that's me, that's me, right? And I was like, this is serious. Maybe this is what I have. And so I went to my therapist. I've talked about this on my vlog and other channels, so you can go fact check this. This is not just for this video. So I went and I talked to my therapist about it, and we started doing some work on it and things like that, and that was when I started getting educated. And actually, last night I was looking up some things about it because, I wanted to, bring this into this video. Binge eating disorder, and this is by the Mayo Clinic, which is, I think, pretty educated. Binge eating disorder is a serious condition. It always involves feelings like you're not able to stop eating. It also involves eating much larger than usual amounts of food. Almost everyone overeats on occasion, such as having second or third holiday meal, but regularly feeling that eating is out of control and eating maybe an unusually large amount of food may be symptoms of a binge eating disorder. And it goes in here and talks about all the symptoms of it, feeling that you don't have control over your eating behavior, often eating much larger than usual amounts of food in a specific amount of time, eating when you're full or not hungry, eating very fast during eating binges, eating until you're uncomfortably full, often eating alone or in secret, and the feelings of being depressed, disgusted, ashamed, or guilted associated with that. Now, I also have a history of having food addiction issues, and I've talked about that at great length. In fact, right now I'm doing a weight loss journey, which is really a health journey on my Peter Gustav channel, and documenting that every week, and me working with my therapist and my sponsor in recovery, talking about my food addiction is a huge part of that, because that food addiction plays into that, and it's the awareness of me educating myself further on this. And while I was looking into this stuff, which was interesting, was I found this article from the New York Times, and this is from May 31st of 2023. The most common eating disorder in the U.S. is the least understood, and it goes in here and says binge eating disorder entered the diagnostic manual on mental health conditions 10 years ago. It's still getting overlooked. And so this is where I'm talking about that eating disorders for people are very, very serious mental health issues, and yet they're so stigmatized in our country that we feel like you have somebody that has an eating disorder online. She's not promoting it. I mean, we know that there have been websites in the past, like, I can't remember what that one website was. I think it finally got closed down, but people used to talk about it all the time, like 10 or 15 years ago, where it was like mostly girls that were sharing ideas of how to lose weight and things like that. I've never seen, and nobody has ever brought to my attention, a video of Eugenia Cooney's where she is explaining how to lose weight and things like that. I think she's done some weight checks on there, which, if you have an eating disorder, you know what that is, which, but I think when you, I'm not making excuses, but when you have an eating disorder, sometimes those things become so natural that you don't even realize you're doing it, like when you're in a mirror or on a camera and things like that, right? I do not get the feeling from what I have seen, because I think it's been interfaced for so long, that Eugenia Cooney does those things on purpose. Nobody's ever brought to my attention where she's done a video or a TikTok or anything where she said, let me tell you secrets to be as thin as me, okay? Or anything like that. So that for me is, where is the promotion of her just existing? You know, and that's where people want her to get deplatformed. Is it people that they want her deplatformed and taken off these social medias because they think that her looking this way is that she's a role model? Well, okay, I mean, the world that we live in, I mean, it's not just social media. It's magazines, it's television, it's movies. And no, most people don't look as thin as Eugenia Cooney. Like, that's the truth, right? And I think that there are probably people that look at her and think, wow, I wish I was that thin. But those are people that probably already have eating disorders to begin with. You know, in all honesty, you know, I think it's hard to, I think, like, for me, okay, when I was watching movies growing up that had a lot of drinking in it, and I wanted to drink because of that and whatever, I already had the ism in me. So for somebody that's going to watch that, right, like, that's somebody that's already got mental health issues, has already got issues, has already got maybe eating disorders, or anyway that's going to look at that, that person probably already needs to be in therapy anyway. I don't know, and this is just, I'm just talking out of my ass right now. I don't know that Eugenia Cooney, simply by existing on YouTube or Instagram or anywhere else, that she is really peer pressuring anybody just by existing how she looks into wanting to be thinner. Okay, I don't know that, right? And so I can't speak to that. I don't know, maybe other people can speak to that. Let me know, you know? But, well, hold on, let me get into this. So, when I was, like, back in the day, before I would start talking about this binge eating disorder, you know, I would go out to eat and people would say things to me like, why do you do this to yourself? Like, I would be like, oh my God, I'm so full. Why do you eat past the point you're full? Just stop. Just put the fork down. None of those things ever helped me. Okay, I can tell you right now. People telling me, just put the fork down. You don't need dessert. Why do you keep on doing this? People throwing up pictures of me and my gut and things like that online. People calling me a fat ass in videos. People body shaming me and things like that. That has never made me want to get thin. That has never made me want to be healthy. That has never made me want to seek treatment for my binge eating disorder or for any other issues that I might have. None of that has, okay? What it does is it instills guilt, shame, embarrassment in me is what it does. And so that further makes me just want to eat more in secrecy and for people. And I'm just telling my truth. I'm not blaming that on anybody. The full responsibility of that lies on me, right? So if you really want somebody to get help, or you really are concerned, or you really take that as an issue, calling somebody those names or saying those things to somebody like just eat a cheeseburger or put the fork down or whatever, or throwing up horrible pictures of them and things like that, I'm not really sure that I think that's the way. Just like I do not believe that these TikToks that I see of people taking videos of addicts in the wild, like meth addicts twitching in a parking lot, okay, gets anybody sober. I think those videos are disgusting. I cannot stand those videos. There is no video that you could have shown me when I was out there in the wild using that would have got me sober. It would have instilled embarrassment, guilt, shame, and remorse in me that would have made me want to use more without having... You have to remember, that's at a time when I didn't have the tools necessary to stay sober. I hadn't gone to treatment. I didn't have a therapist. I didn't have a 12-step program. I didn't have a support group of friends in recovery. So when we're saying these things to people... Let's be careful, because you're just instilling, all this embarrassment, guilt, remorse, and shame, and they don't have the support network. And then we're saying, get help, get help, get help. I don't know that that does anything for anybody out there, What helped me was somebody sharing their story. Like I said, when I got sober, somebody sharing their story. Like I remember when I first got sober and going to meetings, and I thought, God, it's a bunch of old people, I don't want to go. And my sponsor saying to me, look for the similarities, not the differences. And I had to carry a notebook to meetings with me and write down if people said things like in their share or their lead, like I'm from Indiana, then I would say I'm from Indiana, and I would write all those things down and look for the similarities instead of differences. When somebody shared their story, I was like, oh my God, I relate to that. That's me. I could see myself in them. That was powerful. They had planted the seed. Just like when I heard somebody share their story about binge eating disorder, I was prepared to get healthy. So when I heard that story, I was like, oh wow, like I connect with that. I relate to those things that they're sharing, right? And then I went out and I sought help on my own because I didn't want to be unhealthy anymore. I don't want to be unhealthy anymore, But people just saying things to me like, just stop eating, you're going to make yourself sick, why do you do this to yourself? None of those things helped me. So I went in and I looked at the history of Eugenia Cooney, and I read several articles about it that like detail everything about her, how she got her start on, the YouTubes and the Twitch and all that kind of stuff, and these did some twerking video, was her very first video and all this kind of stuff. And interestingly enough, when you go back and you look at the videos of Eugenia Cooney from way back in the day, did I ever even put my lip gloss on? I think I did, but I need some more now. When you go back and look, she's a much different looking person, okay? She says in a lot of different places, like they have quotes in this article that I read, that she says, I've always been a skinny person. Well, no, you haven't always looked like you look now. You look emaciated now. That's the truth, okay? And when you look at pictures from, 5-10 years ago when she started online, she does not look. She looks thin. She doesn't look like thin that I would be concerned if one of my friends was that thin. She doesn't look like that at all. She looks healthy back in the day. She doesn't look the same way today. She looks unhealthy. And I think that's what people's concerns are, is that she is so thin to the point of looking unhealthy. And when she says that, and like, that's where you can see that what she sees when she looks in the mirror, she sees that picture from 10 years ago. She don't see what we all see when you look in the mirror, is probably pretty evident, right? And not to mention, she goes on and she talks a lot about being bullied and not having control. Well, she's still, to some degree, she's getting a lot of harassment and hate online, and she's getting a lot of that negativity, and she relates that to feelings of how she was bullied when she was growing up, and people talk about eating disorders being issues of control, which I believe that they are. Her only sense of being able to control might be that. And can you imagine being in that position where you get so much hate and negativity? And yeah, it sounds simple. People say, just go get help. Have you ever called a therapist for the first time? Have you ever walked into a treatment program? It's incredibly terrifying and difficult. It's not easy. It's not easy at all, As a person that lived that for a long time, when I called to get our newest therapist that we have for marriage counseling and I see individually, that was a hard call for me to make. And I had been sober 20-some years at that point and had a history of therapy and things like that. That was still scary for me, right? So you have this person out there that people are telling her to get help. I think it makes more sense that she would cling to the eating disorder because that's what she's known all her life, right? And like I said, I'm not making excuses for her. I'm just trying to figure it out in my head, right? So I go in there and I read this whole thing, and it talks about this history, and that she comes out, and I think it was around 2019 or something, and she addresses the fact that she had an eating disorder and she went to treatment, and I think it was Connecticut for a month. And that when she came back, she was like, I'm good, I'm fine now, blah, 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 whatever. And when I read that part, I was like, and I had heard something about that, but I didn't know the facts, and I read the facts about it. That was like red flags for me. As somebody that has gone to treatment multiple times, didn't do what I was told to do when I got out of treatment, which is why I went back to treatment and ended up going to treatment 5 times. When I got out the last time, I knew I had to do what I was told or I wasn't going to stay sober. And I didn't want to do those things, right? But I wanted people off my ass. And that was why I did those things that got me sober. And so, you know, any kind of treatment program that you're going to go to is going to have an aftercare plan. They're going to tell you things to do, you know? They're going to tell you to continue with therapy. They're going to tell you to continue to see your doctor, whatever, for whatever issues, right? And, you know, with addiction, it's different than it is with eating disorders. But there's going to be a follow-up that you're going to continue to do. So just to get out and say, I'm fine, everything's back to normal, and then follow that up, she goes on the Shane Dawson interview. Okay, now this Shane Dawson interview is interesting to me because a lot of people, and I have even said it as well about people like Jeffree Star, I feel like are using Eugenia Cooney for like views and clicks and subscribers and stuff like that. But let's go back to 2019 when Shane Dawson did this interview with Eugenia Cooney. Now, Eugenia Cooney to this day has not a bad thing to say about Shane Dawson. Why would she? When he sent her his entire conspiracy collection, okay? And so she, which means she was doing makeup way back then. This new thing of her doing makeup is not new. I don't know why she maybe took a break from it, but she was doing makeup back then, because I can remember that. So he does this interview with her, and he sits down, and she actually looks a little bit healthier than she had before, because she just got out of treatment not long before that. You know, people are speculating that her mom, she like forces her to make content. Maybe at times, it's maybe how it started. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. Eugenia Cooney seems completely like the happiest place in the world for her is being online. I mean, she even talks about all her friends are online. The girl has no life offline, okay? Let's just make that very, very clear. She lives in a room and is online 100 hours a day or 24 hours a day. That's where her life is. You take that away from her, she really doesn't have a whole lot, okay? So, but people have also talked about the mom being very, very controlling and enabling, and I don't know, maybe she is. I have no idea. People have talked about the possibility that she has a guardianship over her. If she does, I hope she's getting her the help she needs. You know, just recently, I think it was in October, there have been all these petitions to get her taken down from all these different websites and, you know, Twitter and TikTok and YouTube and all these different things, and all these petitions to get her taken down, and all these calls to the police in her local area, and so the police finally came out and said that he's known Eugenia for a long time, and she's just a naturally thin person, and that she really likes chicken sandwiches. I read that quote. That was a direct quote, okay? And people talked about it at the time, and I'm like, okay, this is negligence, first of all, that you just say you've known her for a long time. You didn't come out and say, we did a welfare check on her, we had, you know, clinicians come out and talk to her and things like that. She says in the past that the way that she got into treatment was that she was 5150 and things like that. I don't think we have that in Indiana. I think that's like more of like a West Coast thing. And so in Indiana, we call them 72-hour holds, or I think they said that maybe in the article. And so she went to treatment, she comes back, and then Shane Dawson does this interview with her. And in the interview, he talks to her about his eating disorder, right? Well, everybody at the time, if you remember, sang out Shane Dawson's praises and was like, oh my God, he finally got her to talk about her eating disorder online. Like, she's talking about it, she's being authentic. Where was the follow-up with Shane Dawson? As people are so concerned with Eugenia Cooney now, and she looks the worst she's ever looked, where is Shane Dawson as her friend now? Is he still sending her pallets and merch? Or is he actually reaching out to her? I don't know, okay? I mean, he could be behind the scenes calling her every single day. But that video that was highly marketed, that he made a lot of money off of that video, okay? That series that he did with Eugenia Cooney. People talked about her brother in the past. I think he was in part of that. That video that Shane Dawson got her to come out and talk, I believe, in retrospect, was kind of a cry for help to her friend Shane Dawson at the time that she had looked up to and idolized all these years. Where's Shane Dawson today? You know? For any of us out there that have any kind of issues, there are certain people that we trust. And I think she trusted Shane Dawson at the time. Now, I hope to God that behind the scenes, Shane Dawson is still reaching out to her and trying to make sure that she's okay. Because if I were the Shane Dawson in that situation, I can tell you I would never give up on Eugenia Cooney. I don't give up on people, you know? So, and that's just me. Because I've had too many friends die from addiction that I don't give up on people. Whether they go back out there and start using again or not, I don't give up on them. I keep on calling them. People ask this all the time in my vlogs. They're like, you say people that went back out there, you don't talk anymore. Yeah, I don't talk to them because they won't return my phone calls. I have called people, and my best friend Tanya Jean and I, we have called people that we've been friends with for years that go back out. That's called when they start using again. And they don't call us back. And they disappear off the face of the earth. And we never hear from them again, you know, until they come back in or we see them we go to their funeral. don't give up on people today. I won't. You know, this is life or death to me. And when you're talking about an issue like Eugenia Cooney, you're talking about somebody that's life or death, you know? So Shane benefits greatly financially, and, you know, he's the savior of Eugenia Cooney, but does he ever go back and check on her? I don't know. So is it hate she receives or concern? Well, it's a little bit of both, honestly, when you look at it. And, you know, I went to go look and see what it said offline on what should people do to help her, you know? Or do people just love to hate watch her? Or is it concern, or is it criticism? Or maybe the truth lies somewhere in between, you know? And so I went in here and I looked at some things. How to help a loved one, because I think when we talk about parasocial relationships online, we talk about parasocial relationships that we have with YouTubers and stuff. If you really love Eugenia Cooney, what is a way to help? And it was interesting, and I saw this thing. Hold on a second. This is a video that just started playing. Hold on. I saw this thing, and it said, give your time, listen to them, and try not to give advice or criticize. If you love somebody, try not to give advice or criticize. This can be tough when you do not agree with what they say about themselves and what they eat. Remember, you do not have to know all the answers. Just making sure they know you're there for them is what's important, okay? So when people say that people that are that people are leaving comments on Eugenia Cooney's TikToks and whatever are saying to her, I love you, I'm here for you, I care about you, that's enabling her, that actually, per the experts, is not enabling her. It's telling her, I care about you deeply, right? To say, eat a hamburger, eat a cheeseburger, get some help, that's actually not helpful for her. That's actually putting her back into shame, blame, and remorse. And the reality is, the power that we have online, as people that watch people online, we don't have very much of it at all, okay? I mean, I think it extends to petitions and calls to that and whatever, but at some point, as somebody that's had stuff like that done on me, it becomes intrusive at some point. And the reality is that at some point, what you have to decide is, am I going to continue to watch if I have such an issue with this? You know, like I was with Amber Lynn Reed. If I have such an issue with this, okay, and I realize that what I can do on the outside looking in is very, very limited, okay, as an observer, then do I continue to engage in it by watching it, or do I just pull away, set that limit and that boundary, because that's what I've always going to do in my life, and not engage in it, not watch it anymore? Maybe that's the only thing that I can do, you know, because the reality is that it's only really people around that can help, you know? And I looked at this other thing that said, how to help a loved one with an eating disorder, and it goes on, tips for how to talk to a loved one, learn as much as you can about eating disorders. Rehearse what you want to say to them. Set a private time and place to talk. Be honest. Use I statements. Do not focus on you. You're the problem. You need to do this. You need to do that. Sticks to the facts. Raising concerns about a potential eating disorder can bring up a lot of emotions. Be caring but firm. Caring about your friend or family member does not mean being manipulated by them. You know, this is very similar to addiction. Remove potential stigma. Like I said, that's really important, right? Avoid overly simplistic solutions. Being told just stop or just eat isn't helpful. It can leave the person feeling frustrated, defensive, and misunderstood. Be prepared for negative reactions. Some may be glad that someone has noticed that they are struggling. Others may respond differently. Some may become angry and defensive, insisting that you are the one with the problem. I did that when I was in my active addiction. Encourage them to seek professional help. The recommended strategy to deal with an eating disorder is to seek professional help. Offer help finding a physician or a therapist if they don't want to. And tell somebody. That's the last one, right? Well, many of those we can't do as online bystanders. So, for people that really care about Eugenia, I don't know, like, if you need to leave on every video how much you care about her and that you're worried about her and whatever, that probably would be overwhelming. So if you need to keep on watching her. Every once in a while, leave an I love you, I care about you, and comment on her content. You know, maybe that would improve her mental health. And if she's in a better state mental health-wise, maybe she'll go help. I don't know. But the comments of people just saying, just eat or eat a hamburger, you're going to be dead in a week, blah, 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 you know, all this kind of stuff. Those are harsh. Those are uncalled for. And if you really care about this person, she's not Coleen Ballinger, okay? She didn't deliberately make decisions at 37 years old. She's a very sick woman, okay? And she's 29 years, okay? She was born in 1994, so she's the same age as I was sober. So she's 29 years old, okay? She's a grown woman. She's not a girl. I know she likes to dress up in fairy dresses and things like that. She's not a girl. She's 29 years old, okay? She's a grown woman. And she needs to be treated as such. And addressed as such. And stop fawning over her, okay? She's really, to be honest with you, not a whole lot younger than Coleen Ballinger, who is dipping in and having group chats with minors and receiving very little hate. And Eugenia Cooney, okay, is somebody that is just existing with a mental health condition and an eating disorder, and people are literally coming for her. And my opinion has changed about this greatly over time as I've looked at it more, you know? I really sympathize and feel bad for her. She needs help. The girl really, really needs help. And I don't know, if her family isn't willing to do it for her and things like that, I don't know, you know? What I do know is that I am responsible for my own recovery, just like she is responsible for her own health. When I was drinking and using, I said to a friend of mine that I was tired. I've shared this many times in my videos. That I was tired of everyone saying stuff to me. Quit drinking. You're a drunk. You did this. You did that. I was so tired of it, right? And he said to me, and he was not a drinking expert. He drank himself. And he said to me, either get help, you know, or choose to ignore them and you know, just don't have anything to do with them. And I chose to get help. But you know what? A lot of things had to happen. A lot of disastrous things had to happen for me to get help. I didn't walk into treatment. I didn't want to get into treatment. I had to have a lot of people behind me, mostly my father, who is no longer willing to enable me and said, enough is enough. I'm done with you. You know, you can get help or you can go to jail. But I'm done with you at this point, right? That had to occur before I was like in treatment getting help. And I didn't wake up day one and wanting help. You know, I've shared a lot that it was me getting my 6-month coin, and I was like, I've never done anything for 6 months consistently, let alone stay sober, when it finally clicked. I've got peace of mind, I've got serenity, I'm feeling better, I'm more clear-headed. Wow. I can do this for another day. I can do this for another month, you know? But I guess at this point, you know, if Eugenia Cooney is tired of hearing people say things, she's got a choice like I did. Either get help, or just ignore them. And when you go through her comments, what she's choosing to do is she's choosing to ignore them, you know? You can't force somebody to get help. But you can, as a family member and a friend, set appropriate limits and boundaries. You can do interventions. You can educate yourself on what eating disorders are. You can have a therapist that could come into your home and do therapy sessions if they're not willing to go to the therapist. You can do that. So if there are family and friends of Eugenia Cooney that are standing by, that are being negligent and not doing those things, then they aren't willing to help and they don't really care and love her. Tough love is hard, okay? My dad looking at me and saying, if you don't want to get help and you go out there and die, I'm done with you. You know, that was like, he said to me later, he goes, saying that to you knowing that I put 99% and 0.9 faith that you were going to leave treatment and go back out there and drink and use, and you're going to end up dead. He goes, that was terrifying to me. But that was the only thing that I had left. Sometimes you have to give that kind of tough love to people that you really care and you love, you know? Close family, you know, like I said, you can't force somebody to get help. And actually, that's not really true, because close family members, doctors, and the judicial system can force you into treatment. They can force you into treatment. So you can't force someone to get help. But what you can't do is, you can't force them to accept the help. Okay, there's a difference. But you can set limits and boundaries and consequences if they don't accept the help. You can say, you're not going to live in my house anymore, okay? So I don't know, are people benefiting off of her living in their house? You can say, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I'm not going to battle you on TikTok if you're not going to get help. I'm not going to do videos with you and engage with you if you're not going to get help. I'm worried about you. I love you. I care about you, right? I read this meme last night that I think is so appropriate. It says, we cannot force someone to hear a message they are not ready to receive, but we must never underestimate the power of planting a seed. And I've always said that since I got on YouTube, you know, that me sharing my story of recovery is not about me being the gatekeeper. There's 1,000,001 ways to get sober. Just sharing one story, you know. Me talking about my binge eating disorder is not because I think I'm an expert. Hell, I don't even know that much about it. I'm still doing the work. You know, anything that I share on here, whether it's talking about OCD or grieving or whatever, it's just maybe that one person out there. It's why I made the video yesterday. And so many people were like, I needed to hear this yesterday. It was like, so that maybe one person out there relates to what I'm going through and they go, right, like I get that, you know? Plant the seed with somebody. Share your story. Very rarely when I go through Eugenia Cooney's comments, every once in a blue moon, but very rarely do I see people say, Eugenia, I had a very serious eating disorder. Maybe she's getting, you know, bombarded with emails, I don't know, or DMs. But very rarely do I see comments where people say, I had a severe eating disorder like you and I was unwilling to do anything about it. And I'm on the other side today and I'm healthy and I'm really happy that I am. And I'd be more than willing to share my story. I very rarely see those comments. And I read her comment sections pretty regularly. They may be there, but I don't see those comments. I see caring, kind, and loving comments that I think she associates with hate, but I don't see them as hate. I don't see them as hate. But I also don't think they're really doing anything, you know? So I think at that point, you have to ask yourself the question, can I be part of this or am I done? you know? For me, with people that I watch that I'm worried about and I'm worried about their health, I can't continue to engage in that, you know? So, to Eugenia, I just want to say that I'm sending you prayers and better health and awareness. I want everybody to have an amazing life. I'm so grateful for my addiction because it got me to my recovery that gave me the life that I have today. I wouldn't even have anything that I have today if it wasn't for my recovery. And I'm so incredibly grateful for it. And I want that from everybody, for everybody else, no matter what they're going through. I want recovery through whatever issues you're going through, you know? And a group of people around you, family and friends, that love you and care enough to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.